record this. So, okay. All right, for some reason it wanted to open it in Rhino 6. Shows Rhino 6, no changes, that's all right. No. All right, I'm going to open this with Rhino 7. Or bring demo file. I think that I showed you guys, this is when I was playing with some SubD. And we are opening this up. Okay, yeah, you can see I have the notes file here. My pinky is, like you all really wanted to know, my pinky is 0.6 of an inch. By the way, let me make sure. And so here we are. So I'm playing with this. You know, we've got this. You can see that I made sure that the inside of the ring was, this is the size. Now, I got to tell you, this is a really dang fat ring. I'm going to bring up my selection filter. And I'm going to do a little bit of modeling here. I'm going to just set that there. We're going to turn on sub objects. And this means that I can now use my SubD options. And here I'm going to move the outside. I'm holding down shift and using the gumball to move this in to make the ring itself a little bit thinner. I'm also going to take the that edge curve, not that one. Oh, took everything off. We got that guy. We got the one all the way around the middle. I don't want vertices. I just want edges. I don't want faces. So here we're going to get the guy around the middle. We're going to take the one just above it, which is, I believe, here. And let's take a look at the ring itself and see whether we can get the one on the bottom as well. Okay, so I have these three. I'm actually going to squish them in a little bit there. But notice that that isn't changing my ring size. I also don't want to, so now I'm going to bring everything in a little bit. I'm now going to take these off and this too. I'm holding down the control key to take off, to deselect these. And now I'm going to squish these in a little more. And I'm again going to remove some of these ones on the side. Let's get that last one. And now these, I'm also going to squeeze a little teeny bit more. Again, I'm holding down the shift key with the gumball. Okay, so here's what I have. Ugh, you know what? That back side of this really needs to be maybe not quite that much, but I'd like to get at least the back end of the ring. And now I'm going to hold down shift. We're going to do this section here too. And that. Okay. That's actually, I wanted to bring this and make all that a little thinner. Again, notice that this interior, my interior size has not budged. I'm just playing with all of the curves on the outside of this. And the ones, and the other ones, I'm moving them in just a vertical direction so that they don't affect the interior size of the ring. And here I'm going to just go and pull these guys a little bit. No, actually, we're going to go, when we go left to right, still that's a little much more than I wanted over here in the, okay. All right. And again, I'm going to take this off. And now go here. All right. Now let's look at that ring. Oh, that's a little better, definitely. All right. So let's assume that I've already sent this to be cast, and that's fine, or I've already cast it, or maybe I'm not sure if I want to cast it and I want to show it to a client. So now at this point, I'm going to want to save this as a new file, because this is my working file. This is the file that I'll go in to edit the CAD. This is the file that I'll go in and add the sprues. So I'm going to leave that one be. I'm going to just go and go save. That's Barb demo ring file. I actually probably should have done an incremental save. Those of you who've been doing incremental saves, understand what a great value it is. It's like capturing a moment in time that you can go back and you can back up to a different version of your file. All right, so that's cool. We've got that. And now, all right, that's good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a save as, and we're going to make this just for rendering. So, and I'm doing a save as, and I'm going to say render file. Okay, and I saved that in the same folder. That's great. Now I'm going to close Rhino. Oh, wait, actually, yeah, there. So we got that. We may need to open that up again, and I'll show you why in a minute. And actually, that's a good thing. So we're going to go into Keyshot now. Keyshot is on all of our computers. This is a splash screen that comes up. It tells you about bug fixes every time you get a new update. We can't actually install an update because we don't have admin privileges. Okay, but here we are. So let's, this is our screenshot that comes up. It has a lot of different options for previous files. It has options to go to the manual. It has options to go to the discussion forum. If you have time to go in and look at these things, it's a great resource. I'm going to shut that. And now we're going to, I'm going to talk a little bit before I bring in my Rhino file. Well, let's talk about this workspace that we have here. So we have a library window. If I click on this, the library window disappears. I'm going to turn it back on. You can also bring it up. I think if you just use the letter L, maybe not. Let me see, Windows. Okay, so we've got library, materials, that's it, the letter M. And then the project is the space. Okay, so here we are. And over here, we have the potential of things that we can use in our main window here. This is our display. And over here, we can change the environment. It starts with this, startup. This is what we use for the environment. And the environment is what the computer is using to look at reflected light, to look at the light that is shining on your object. Here, I just changed the environment to something different. Here we have a white tabletop with a black background. Here again is a different look, similar, but it has a different kind of shadow setup. This is a light tent, and it gives a different, again, it all depends on what we're looking at. And I'll show you in a minute how these will affect your, how they're going to affect your object and how it's rendered. So here's another, here's a, so, and these don't look like much right now, but here, one of the things that we could do to test this, if you don't have a Rhino model that you want to put in, is we could just put one of these models in. Let's put a cylinder right in the middle. Okay, and now we can zoom in and out using the middle mouse button. Remember, you guys should be using a 3-button mouse. If you don't have a 3-button mouse, get one. They're not expensive at all. You could find one that's wired in for like very little. So here's our here's a potential model. So what we can do with a model once we have it into our main area is we can put a material in it. Here I'm under paint right now. If we paint this to be, this is like a kind of metallic silverish pewter color. Now, and then we can change the color of it. Let's look at, some Pantone nylon color. Here we go. Oh my gosh, that's bright. But notice that it doesn't just make it flat. It's showing as if it is a real object, and it's showing the reflection of the area around it. It's showing the lighting, and it's showing the shadows. So let's go back to environments and look at what happens if we change this back to a different environment. Now look how these shadows changed, how the background changed. The startup environment that we use is actually one of the best for jewelry. And we can customize that somewhat. We can also add a backplate, which is an image that an image that shows in the back. It makes it look as if it's sitting on a table or something. And we can change the size of our object. And so that gives you a rough idea of what you can do with the library window. Now, let's close the library window for a minute, and we're going to look over here in the project window. Now, the library window was the potential of things that you can put into your scene, which is the main window here. The project window are the things that are actually in your scene. For instance, over here in the scene, we've got this cylinder. All right, if I click on that and select it, let me see. Can I select import? Wait a minute. There's the render, the animation. I wanted to move that. We right click and we go with move selection or move part. This allows us to translate. Translate just basically means move. Here's the options for our move tool. We can move it in the Y direction. In Keyshot's default is that the Y is the up and down. In Rhino, it's the Z. So we want to think about that before we export our piece. Now we can move it in the X direction while moving it in the Y direction. We can rotate it. Of course, we're not going to see much there, but if we rotate it in the Y direction, because it's just rotating. Let's go back to 0 on this. You can type these in instead of using the arrows as well. But if we take the Z, I believe then yeah, here we go. We can start to see how we rotate that. And we can also scale this. Now we just scaled part of it because we only scaled the X axis. And so now we'll want to move this over, I think, the other direction. If we leave it at 0, it should be right in the center of our environment. And when we're done, we hit OK. Material, we'll see here what the material is. Here is that material. We can double click on that and we'd be able to edit it. Okay, we can change the roughness. Okay, this is a paint. So we could actually get a clear coat on that. This is going to make it take longer to render. Here's like a little bit of, it'll change around the refractive index a little. And you can play with all these settings with any of the materials. You'll have different options for different materials as far as what to what your options are. They're different for metal. You have reflections, you have and this actually has a metal roughness here. Okay, let's see what happens here. One of the things about Keyshot is it's just fun to go in and play. And if you don't save your changes, you can always back up. Just like with any of the software that we use, there's no risk in playing around in the controls and the commands. Okay, so and we can close the material window and then the last thing that we would do is render. So what we're doing is what you see in this window is not the actual rendering. What you're seeing is what Keyshot is presenting as a possibility for rendering. When you tell it to render, it will save out an image file. And an image file is like a JPEG or a PNG, a BMP, a TIFF. There's lots of different image files types. And here we go. This is going to save it as a PNG. It could also save it as a Photoshop file, PSD. But let's start a PNG. We're going to have it be 1024 by 576. This is how big it would print if we were printing at 300 DPI. We're just going to call this test cylinder. And that's fine. Oh, hang on, I got to move my, there we go. There's the render button. It was hiding by Zoom. So, and if we hit render, it'll go ahead and open a window. It'll give us a status bar here. And now it finished. So if we hit this checkbox, it'll close it. We could actually also just add them to the queue so that there are maybe like, we could have a whole list of renderings here, because we can move it around, we can change the background, we can change the environment, and then we could tell it to render and walk away and let the computer do what it needs to do. So now I'm going to bring back up the project window and my library window, and I'm going to go into the scene itself. I'm going to take this cylinder and I'm going to hit the delete key. And I do want to delete the part. Okay, I also want to go into my environment. I want to take this backplate image and I want to throw it away. Now, because I threw it away, it doesn't mean that I can't get that again, because it's over here still in our library panel. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to find my, this is CAD 2. I was doing rendering over there as well. So let's go back to the metals folder. We're going to go to CAD 1. We're going to go down to spring 2022, back to here. And here's our render file. Let's bring that in. Now, remember, the up orientation in Rhino is usually the Z, and Keyshot has it as Y. So by telling them that I like the up orientation to be Z, it should bring it in, and it'll be sitting right in the middle like I had it. Okay, there we go. That is where I had it. Is that how I want it? Is this a good way to render this ring? Anybody got any ideas about that? If this is the first time you were looking at this image, would you think of this as a ring? I don't think I would. So I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to move the part. We're going to rotate it, and I think we'll rotate it around the x-axis. Now let's go the other direction here. That is the direction I want. And the other thing that we can do is there is kind of like a gumball tool. It's not nearly as precise. Now, notice too, see how we're getting like this grayish here? That's because it's falling under the ground plane. All right, I'm going to keep turning it because this isn't really where I want it. I also want it to rotate around the y-axis because I don't want that in the front. Okay. Yeah, let's, I'm actually just going to put in 180 rather than, oof. No, that isn't actually what I wanted. Undo. Actually, the easiest thing to do is just hit cancel, go onto here. And again, that was Control D. I wanted this rotation to be 90 here. All right. Actually, I think that was supposed to be -90. That's better. And then the Z, we're going to make that 180. Because what I wanted is this funky area here. And then in the y-axis, we're going to bring it up some because we want it to be above the ground plane. Oh, where am I going? There we go. Okay, now that's up a little high. There we go. This is kind of what I wanted. Let's just move that a tiny bit. Let's maybe move this to 183. Okay. Yep. 183. That's so weird. It's not letting me put in the 3. 180. That's where it was. Okay, we're going to leave that there. And I'm going to hit OK, because that's roughly what I like. One thing I like to do when rendering is I like to have my piece of jewelry look as though I could put my hand right into the screen, and here I could just, you know, potentially. That's kind of how you would imagine when you're, especially when you're rendering a bracelet or photographing a bracelet or a ring. You want to show the opening. You want them to realize that, hey, a body part goes into here. Okay, so this is my ring potentially, and let's take a look at the materials for it, because right now it's just showing us blue, because I was using the blue in the in my Rhino file. So let's look at metal, because we're going to assume that this is going to be cast. I want to cast it in probably bronze. Let's look at the colors we have for. All right, let's keep looking. Metal rough. Let's see if we open this up. We've got basic. We've got brass, chrome. We don't have bronze listed here. What's old? Oh, that's niobium. Old niobium. Here's nickel. Nickel's got almost a kind of pinkish tint to it. Magnesium, iron, copper. I could play with copper. And let me see what we have for basic here. This is basic metal. One of these have got the bronze color that I really want. Let's go with the copper. And I'm going to take this, and I'm going to list these, by the way, so I can see what they're meant to be. So we've got a really highly polished copper, brushed 90 degrees and brushed. I like the basic brushed. So I'm going to put that right onto the ring. And that's cool. Let's take a look at colors and see if there's anything I can play with there. There we go. Now we've got a little bit more to look at. We've got copper. But actually, if we go over here to our scene and we look at our material here, here's where we can edit it. Let me pull that out of the way. There's the metal preset is copper. We're going to open that. That's the end of this thing. Okay, color. Here's the color that, let's look at these. Here we go. That's more like it. I kind of like that. Let's move it a little bit more down to here and over a little. I'd like a touch more color in it and a little less. Let's see what we get there. That may be more like the bronze that I want. Because it's brushed, it's got this little texture to it. Let's see what we can do about that texture. We've got this bump, is what they call it. And it's got a, let's see what happens if we make it a little less. All right, that's not too bad. And if we shift it, it'll change the direction it is on the metal. Remember the U and V curves on our, the isocurves on our Rhino objects end up going in different directions. They're usually 90 degrees from one another. So let's take a look at what happens if we move those around. See how the angle changed? So that's good. Yeah, let's leave it at that. I kind of like that. So that's got a good, any labels, nope, properties, back to that. Yeah, I may make this a little teeny bit rougher. If I can do that. Roughness, labels. Yeah, there we go. All right. So that's we're using the environment. As I said, we worked with the startup environment. Let's see what happens with our ring with one of these other environments. This has got more of a dramatic contrast around the ring compared to that. I don't know. I mean, these days you see a whole lot more white backgrounds. Like here, if we go with the all white, we have a nice, but we get a lot of white reflections. It's really like making this look less metallic and more just reflecting the white background. So I kind of like a a gray, a gradient, or yeah, now that just looks flat and boring. Let's go back to the all white. Yeah, still not what I like. And you may wonder, I mean, we have options with material, we have options with color. What are our options for our environment? Let's take a look at that. So I put the startup back on there. And here we can look at brightness. We can make it a little less bright. We can make it a little more bright. Maybe let's make it a little more bright because I like white. I like a nice white background, but I also don't want it to look so flat. And this doesn't look flat compared to what we were getting with the all white background. Let's take a look at the contrast too and see whether we can play with that a little. I don't know. Yeah, that's not too bad. A little less maybe. Transform. Let's see what we have here. Rotation. Now this is rotating where the lights are. We can also go into here and oh, maybe not on this one. There's that one that we can do that with. I thought we could do that in here. I got to move the zoom thing again. Sorry, it's overlooking or overlapping. Lighting environment. So the color, if we wanted to, we could actually add a little teeny bit of color in here. Maybe not pink. Let's go just a little bit more towards a gray from the white, because all the way in the top corner like that is total white. If we just drop it down a touch, we'll get a little bit of gray. If we just move it over a little bit, we'll get the slightest bit of pink in there. Not too bad. Okay, so as you can see, we can play with this a little bit. I think that this size increases the size of the basic tent. And I think, let's try this one. This is actually the one where we can adjust the lights. So if we're moving the lights around in the tent, you can see how it affects the shadows. Now that washes out that little top here. I don't think I like that. Let's see if I can change that around a little. And this one's okay. Yeah, this is one of the ones that I think really does. Let's move this one a little bit gray. And you know what's funny is now in this one, it looks like the ground plane is just looks like it's floating just above. That shadow doesn't look like it's actually right under the ring. It's making the ring look as if it's floating. So let's go back into here, into the main, into our main scene here. And we can take, we can go in and remember it was Control D, I think. Yes, there we go. Let's move that down a tiny bit. Oof, no. Now it looks like it's too high there. But if you take it to 2, it's definitely sitting below the ground plane, because you could see, you see the difference there, folks? See that? You don't want to have it sitting under the ground plane because your lighting is all set up for. So let's go with 2.5 or no, or 0.25. Still too much. Let's go with 0.22. No, that's too much. So 0.2 was too high. 0.21. Now we're going down. 0.2. Was it 0.3? It's closer to 0.3. That's actually where we were, right? Yeah. Okay, so we need to be closer to 0.3. So if we go 0.29, that drops it tiny. Ooh, almost. That's close. Sometimes it's a little trial and error. There we go. I like that. We're going to hit OK, and that's where we're going to leave that. And it's just sitting. It looks like it's touching. I like this light tint that we can play with the shadows and the way that the light is hitting. What we're looking for in a rendering is to be able to see that this piece has form and to try to understand what the form is. Now, I like this. Let's go, and we're going to put this in the, okay, SubD fun ring 1. Okay, we're going to make that a PNG. Let's look at the presets here. Let's make that a 1024 by, no, where are we at? We're at 1024 by 576. Let's go with 1280 by, and that's a bit slightly bigger print. I'm gonna move the zoom thing out of the way. I'm gonna add that to the queue. Okay, I'm gonna close this. And now we're gonna change the background around a little bit again. I want a few more shadows. I'm gonna move this up here. Okay. That's kind of interesting. And I'm also going to zoom out a little bit. Okay. And now let's go to render. And we're going to call this SubD Fun 2. Because we did change around. I'm going to add that to the queue. We're going to close this again. And now I'm going to change my background. Let's go with this overhead panel. Let's see what we get here. Ooh, that gets really dark. Let's see what we can do with this light. Oof. Wow, I am not sure I like that. That is so not what I was thinking. Yeah, I don't like that guy. Let's go with the startup balanced. Oof, boy, that sort of washes it out. I'm gonna zoom out a tiny bit. We're gonna play with some of these lights. And after I move each of these lights, notice how I stop and just like check and see. Okay. I like that. I'm going to put that to the queue and go 3. All right. Add that to the queue. And now at this point, because I'm that's probably all that I want from this point of view. Now let's look at the different ways that we can. Where we were was free camera. Were we on free camera? I thought that we were. Perspective, top, front, right. Let's go back to where we were. There we go. I thought it was free camera. In the same scene here, we may want to add a model set. No. Okay, we're in free camera. And what we're going to do here is we're going to we can change actually here. The same things we could do with our mouse is with our mouse, we can move in and out. Here, this is talking about where the horizon is and where we are in relation to that inclination. And basically at this point, all we're moving is the camera. We are not moving the actual object. If we wanted to move the actual object, we would use that that other control that I showed you here with Command D, which is the move. Yeah, you right click and you get it here. It's move part. Okay, but over here we are moving the camera. Here's twist. Okay, and we probably want to keep that one at 0. Okay, but here's where we can move our camera around. All right. And now maybe I might want to do another rendering of the ring like that. So we'll go 4. We're going to add that to the queue. Okay, we're going to close this and we can move in and out. Let's change that azimuth again and our inclination. Now here we can't even see the ground plane because we're actually below it. The camera is below it. The camera has to stay above the ground plane in order for you to continue to have that ground plane shadow, which is part of what gives your rendering a real look. You have to have that ground shadow or else it looks like it's just floating in the air and then is therefore not real. I'm going to just change this a little bit more. Yeah, I kind of like that. Also, Keyshot just gave me a reminder. Yeah, let me save this file. I'm going to save this as a package. I'm going to go to, that's CAD 2. This is CAD 1. We're going to go in here and I'm going to save this in here. And we're going to call this SubD Fun Ring. And it is a Keyshot package. Okay, so I'm going to add this guy to the render queue. We're going to go here, render. And we'll call that 5. And still, these are all the same size. That's great. We saved this file. Now let's go and render. We go here and we just hit render. And it's going to go through. Okay, hang on. Yeah, it finished up there. And we're going to close that. Actually, we wanted to go and do the whole queue. There we go, process the queue. You can see it flying through these. Now, if you're using a lot of transparency, a lot of reflections, if your material is clear, the computer takes a lot longer to get your pieces together. Now, let's see. I'm going to minimize Keyshot. We're going to go back into here. Did I put it in the Keyshot? There's the SubD font. Oh, where did it save it? Oh no, I forgot to. Let's see if we go render output. Where's it going? It's going into the C drive renderings. Okay, so that means I have to go to this PC. It's probably in documents. No, it's not. Where was it? The C drive. It's here. Is it program files? Keyshot 10. Geez, where did it save it? We go here. Documents, Keyshot 10, renderings. Okay. Let's go back here. Documents. This PC, documents. Let's look for SubD. Be fun. So let's just look for ring. There we go. It's somewhere on the PC that I was. This is why you should always make sure that you save things on the Metal server. Now it's going through the whole PC. There we go. Ring 6, ring. Okay. Oh my goodness. Wow, you are kidding me. I got to tell you, this is kind of weird seeing all these rings that were from like 2011, 2013. Holy moly. 2014. Oh my goodness. Oh, I wonder if it's looking in the middle server. Let's just go here. Oof. I could go back and see if I can pull up that queue, but how weird. Because I would think that it's supposed to be here. Let's just look for Keyshot. Because we're looking for the folder for Keyshot. Have you guys had to search for stuff in Windows before? There it is, still searching. So weird. Wow. It's taking a while. Well, in the meantime, let's go back to here and let's do something very important, which is find our CAD1 Keyshot. And that's the folder we're going to select. And now we're going to add that to the queue. Look at the queue, we've got one. All right, let's go back. In the meantime, let's see, did we get anything here? What I want is to, let's go by date modified. 3/16, here we go. Wow. Oh, it's still looking on the metals folder. That's why. Okay. All right, let's assume that they're gone. So in which case we're going to go back to change around our, let's go back to where we were roughly, distance. That's not bad. Let's render that, add it to the queue. Output, SubD fun. Okay, and we are back in CAD1. Good deal. We'll do that. And that looks good to me. Let's add that to the queue. And now we're going to change our angle and maybe make our distance a little bit further out. Perhaps we'll use a different background. Let's real quick go in here. Take a look at the brightness. Don't need a whole lot. Let's look at that contrast. That's not bad either. Let's change the camera around a little bit on this guy. There we go. And what I'm going to want to do is also move this for this one. So I'm going to move that part. We're going to move it in the X. There we go. That's closer to the center. And let's add that to the render queue. 3. And we're still in the Keyshot. Let's add that to the queue. Okay, let's go to the queue. We only have 3 in there now. We're going to process those. You can see how each one opens up. You have a down at the bottom right is where you have those things. All right, we're going to save Keyshot again. Should still be in the same spot. That's fine. There we go. Yeah, I do want to replace it. I'm fine with keeping them all together. Now we're going to close this. We're going to go back to CAD1. Going to go back to here. Going to look in here, my Keyshot. Okay, here we go. So the ones that we did today are here. And let's open these three up and take a look at them. Okay. That one's kind of off to the side. Oh no, these are the ones from the other day. 3, 6. These are the ones I did during the break. Okay. Because you could tell because the ring is fatter. It's before I did the adjustments that I showed you guys today. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. And I would like to entertain any questions that you may have about how to run Keyshot while I finish my orange juice. Just dropped a little teeny bit on my keyboard, which is why we do not have any liquids in our CAD lab. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop recording. Actually, we're going to pause recording here and show you. Oh, let me get the share screen going. All right, we're going to share the whole screen. Yeah, because we only have 4 minutes. So when you're making something, if at all possible, I mean, we've talked about incremental save, right? So here I'm going to do a SubD torus. And maybe it's going to be like that. And that's pretty cool. We're going to like do edges, and I'm going to turn on sub objects. We're going to make part of it like kind of biggish. And we're going to do some stuff like this. And this is sort of like what we were talking about the other day. Okay, so we've got, or earlier, when we were doing our rendering exercises here, learning how to render. Okay, now I did just mess up the interior of this. Okay, so let's say I got this, and there's also some other pieces that I want to add to it, say a cylinder. Okay, and like that, and it's going to be kind of funky. Let's go here. We'll go like that. And I'm going to flip that over. Yep, yeah. Now I'm going to take that off, use the whole thing. Take off sub objects. And so before I union this though, okay, so SubD objects have to be moved to, get moved to NURBS before they can be, let's mirror this too. Okay, yep, dragging broke history. So if I were doing this, then what I would do is I would have, this is my working layer, and I could call it whatever I'm calling it. And I'm going to put everything on there. Okay, so I'm going to change that object layer. Now I want to union this so that I can render it, so I can show it to my client. Oh, you know what he needs? He needs a nose. Let's make him a nose. Oop, let's do this here. And we're going to go like that. And we're going to go like that. Whoop, whoop. There we are. And we're going to bring that down here. And all right. Anyway, that's what we're playing with right now. Okay, so we've got all that. And this guy should also be in that layer. Okay, 229. So we have all those there, but I want to see what happens with this if I'm unioning it. So I'm going to make a separate layer that I'm going to call Final Union. Okay, escape. Okay, I'm going to call it Final Union. And instead of just changing everything over there, I'm going to select everything that I have in my working, and I'm going to copy those objects to the layer. Okay, that's fine. Now I'm going to close this, and I have all these here. I'm going to take all these. I'm going to move them from SubDs to NURBS. Okay, and I'm going to delete those objects, yes, because I don't need them. And this is what I've got now. I have all these separate objects. I could take all of these, and I'm going to do a Boolean union. And there we go. Okay, so That's great. My client looks at it and my client says, oh my gosh, that nose is way too silly. It's like too short. I don't like it. Can we please make that different? So what I would do is I would hide that final union. I'd bring up my working. I'd take that and I'd go, okay, well, let's make it bigger. And here's where I have it. Now at this point, yeah, that's great. That's pretty cool, except I want it a little fatter too, right? So this is my, there we go. That's the nose. So now what I can do is go back to that union and we're going to take everything there. We're going to hide this. We'll take that whole thing. We can delete it or save it to an old file. But now we've got all our working stuff. We're going to move that over to the final union again. Okay, and our working is still there, right? Did we change? Did it? Is it? No, it isn't. Oh my gosh, I have to stop. We want to have this go back to the undo. We need to not change the layer. We need to copy the object to the layer. Now, if I close off the red, they're gone. If I bring up the red, they're still there. We want to hide the red. We want to take all this. We want to go convert it to NURBS. And we'll say yes, there we go. And we're going to Boolean union. And now we have that Boolean union, but we still have these guys that we can play around with and edit our file. Okay, and that's all I wanted to show you guys. I'm going to stop my sharing. I'm going to stop recording.